Okay, so as you know, or you should know, September is Realtor Safety Month. And today we have a very special guest that's going to talk to us about that. So I would like to introduce Chief Joseph Carreri from Yukon Health Police. Well, thank you.
Did everybody in the back hear me okay? You hear me okay? Good. Hey, yeah, my name is Joe Carreri. I'm the Chief of Police at Yukon Health Police Department. Just a quick background. Prior to, I've been there about 2 years now, a little over 2 years. Prior to going to the Yukon Health Police Department, I was the Chief of Police and Director of Public Safety at California State University of Los Angeles. Prior to that, I was at the Los Angeles Police Department for 35 years. Looking at your faces, I know you have a big question in mind. What the heck were you thinking? But after last winter, I was thinking the same thing myself, but look at the weather now. It's beautiful. To be honest with you, I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Long Island, and I missed the change of seasons. And I'm sure you're also saying to yourself at this point, who is this guy trying to kid? He's claiming to have 41 years in law enforcement. He looks much too young to have 41 years. How I wish. But I'm sure you are asking yourself a question, you know, if this guy works at Yukon Health Police Department, why is he giving a presentation on real estate safety? Well, I have two reasons. I'll tell you one now and one a little later on. You know, the motto of a lot of police agencies throughout the country have as their motto, to protect and serve, or something like that. Those are two very important responsibilities of any law enforcement official. And I don't believe that those responsibilities for me should end at the boundaries of Yukon Health. The people I work for at Yukon Health also have that same opinion and are very supportive of what I do in making these presentations. And I believe I'm providing a public service. If I save one person, one real estate agent from becoming victimized through these presentations, I will feel like I've made a difference. I'll also tell you that unlike many who make a living doing these presentations, I don't ask for one penny as a result, in exchange for these presentations. Now, as they say, you get what you pay for, so I hope you're not expecting too much. I'm joking. Hopefully you'll find this both interesting and informative and helpful. But let me ask you a couple of questions. I saw a lot of sponsors stand up. How many in this room, by a show of hands, are real estate agents? You're out there trying to make the sale, you're trying to get that house rented, you're trying to get that listing. So quite a few. And just one other question. How many of you in the past have either come to a presentation like this or gone to a class or taken a course on real estate safety? All right, that's good number of you. Well, you know, I'm not a real estate agent. I never have been, but over the course of my life, I've bought and sold 6 homes. Not all at once, one at a time, but you know, going through homes, many homes, to find the right one with a real estate agent, I often thought, you know, this could be a fun profession, and if you have the drive and the economy's not too bad, you could probably make a pretty decent living. But I also had fleeting thoughts from time to time is, man, these people kind of put themselves at risk. They were only fleeting. You know, that I didn't think about it much. But a little over 2 years ago, as I said, I accepted my current position at Yukon Health, and they wanted me to start pretty quickly. So my wife and I had to find a place in Connecticut to live. We didn't know much about Connecticut, so we decided to rent for about a year before we bought a home. I didn't want to live too far away from the health center in Farmington. So I got a hold of a real estate agent while I was still in California. Seemed like a nice guy. I explained my situation, and he said, you know, I'm sorry, but that's out of my territory. So he referred me to another real estate agent. Well, that guy was either too busy or didn't want to bother with a renter, so he referred me to a very young lady. And my wife and I knew nothing about her qualifications, but we were very impressed with her enthusiasm, her drive, and her interest. She made finding us the right rental home just as important to her as it was to us. And she just did find us the right rental home. We became pretty friendly with this young lady over the course of the last 2 years now. In fact, she refers to her, and we know her family as well. She refers to us as aunt and uncle, and we refer to her as our niece. About a little over a year ago, my wife and I actually bought our home in Connecticut, and with the help of our new niece. And we wouldn't have thought of using anybody else, not only because of the relationship we've built, but because of our first impression of her. And we know that she would work just as hard, if not harder, finding us the right home, and she did. Now, this isn't a story about real estate safety, but how maybe treating a minor client could reap benefits in the future. And I bring her up, and I bring this up to tell you about the second reason why I give these presentations. While I was still in the rental home about a year and a half ago, I got a frantic phone call at 8:30 at night from my new niece. She seemed very upset and nervous. She said, "I'm still sitting in my car. I just had shown a number of homes to a young man about 35 years old. This guy had initially come to the real estate agency with his uncle, and slowly but surely the uncle phased out of the picture. Says, I just finished showing him the home, and while I was showing him the home, he started telling me intimate details about my life and my family. Information he had no need or right to know. And I got very nervous. I asked him, how does he know this information? He says, well, I'm a security, I have a secret clearance, and people tell me things. Well, my advice to her immediately was end this relationship. Either refer him to another agent in your office, preferably a big, muscular male with a black belt in karate, or tell him you have no other properties that would be of interest to him. I'm glad she took my advice, because I contacted the local police agency to see if they knew him. As soon as I mentioned his name, they said, oh yes, this guy's been arrested in the past for impersonating a police officer. He has some mental issues, and in their opinion, they have absolutely no means of purchasing a home. Then after one of my presentations that I gave here, a male real estate agent came up to me and said, you know, I was thinking of not coming to this presentation because I thought it would be for female agents. But I'm very glad I did. Then he went to tell me about a week before he came to the presentation, he was showing a doctor's home to another guy. It was very nice, expensive stuff all around the home. And this guy was very articulate. That was the person he was showing the home to. But he started mixing up information. For example, he said he claimed to have a master's degree. And then he said, I've got my master's degree, and now I'm working on my associate's degree. That didn't make much sense. Well, he kept on making some mistakes like that, so the real estate agent got concerned. He went home, looked the guy up on the internet. It turned out that this guy had just been paroled for robbery. The very next day, the same guy called the real estate agent, said, I'm at my real estate agent's office right now with her, and I'd like to see that doctor's house again. Well, the real estate agent that talked to me asked to talk to the other guy's real estate agent. This lady came on the phone. And as soon as the agent asked her for her real estate license number, she started stuttering and stammering and said she had an appointment and had to leave. Obviously, that second showing never occurred, but because this guy trusted his instincts and did some research, he probably avoided becoming a victim, and that house probably avoided losing a lot of valuable items. You know, statistically, your profession is relatively safe, but there are inherent risks. Real estate agents have been robbed, have been attacked, and have been murdered. As a matter of fact, in the last 20 years, more than 200 real estate agents have lost their lives while conducting their business. Let me give you a little bit of history. I'm not going to go over all 200, but just a few. 1995, let me tell you about Maria Garcia. She was a real estate agent in Brentwood, New York. During an open house, she was approached by a gentleman by the name of Donnie Bates, or Bats. He told her he had a house he'd like to put up on the market for sale. So after the open house, Ms. Garcia went with Donnie Bats to this house, where he immediately slit her throat and killed her. Turned out that he was a recently paroled felon who had a history of mental illness. Then, let me see where this clicker is. Go to January 4th, 2001, Mike Emmerich, this good-looking 41-year-old gentleman was stabbed to death while showing a house in Bellevue, Washington. It was apparent that Mike put up a struggle, but he died of multiple stab wounds. This tragic death inspired the formation of the Washington State Safety Council. That Safety Council has been on the forefront of real estate safety, and a lot of other states have borrowed from the Washington Real Estate Council, Safety Council, on the things that they have developed. Let's jump to 2010. 71-year-old Vivian Martin was the owner of Essence Realty in Youngstown, Ohio. Her body was found in a home she had been showing engulfed in flames. She had been strangled by two men who claimed to be potential buyers, and she was robbed of $56. The next day, 40 miles away, in a lakefront community near Kent State University, 51-year-old Andrew Von Stein was found shot to death in a home that he was showing. In 2011, 27-year-old real estate agent Ashley Oakland was found shot to death in a model home in West Des Moines, Iowa. Well, I started giving these presentations last September, September 25th, as a matter of fact. And very sadly, very ironically, on that same exact day that I was giving this presentation, possibly at the same time I was giving this presentation, Beverly Lynn Carter in Little Rock, Arkansas, was murdered. Her body was found 5 days later in a shallow grave. Aaron, what's his name? Aaron Lewis, an active parolee. He was a felon 4 times over. He and his wife had been arrested and charged with her murder. He admitted kidnapping Beverly Lynn Carter, but didn't admit killing her. I'd like to show you a short video of an interview that was conducted shortly after Aaron Lewis was arrested for her murder. And note what he says as to why he chose Beverly Lynn Carter. Touch this thing. Okay, how'd we get this to work before? Well. All right, who got this to work earlier?
Fox News alert for you right now. Brand new video into Fox and Friends. The man suspected of murdering missing Arkansas real estate agent Beverly Carter spoke out just moments ago as he's being led past cameras with police. Lewis set to make his first court appearance.
No.
You did not?
No.
Who did?
I had a co-defendant. I haven't seen her for 2 days. Now they're showing pictures of this. I haven't seen her. I had a co-defendant, Trevor.
Who's Trevor?
He's Air Force at the military base.
And what's your relation to Trevor?
They want he's got texts back and forth to me and him, and then they wanted my phone.
Why Beverly? Why Beverly?
She was a rich broker.
Do you have anything to say to the family?
I'm sorry.
What else do you want to say to the family?
I'm sorry.
Why Beverly?
Because she was just a woman that worked alone, a rich broker.
She was a woman who worked alone, a rich broker. Just remember that for a minute. Well, that was last year, but attacks on real estate agents have continued in 2015. Show you another little video about 2015 here. Come on.
Click on the slide.
Popular home buying statement.
I have to turn this one.
Searching for a man who had 2 real estate agents at Bank
Oh, that's his
Home.
logic.
Showing home. ABC's True West County Judge now with the latest in on feed. Good morning to you, George. Police say the suspect had a handgun, wore a straw hat, and sunglasses, and they're worried he could strike again. This morning, police are sharing this sketch of the man they say robbed 2 different Florida realtors at gunpoint while they were showing new homes.
He believed us on it. I'm a realtor. I wanted to show you home. And someone just robbed me.
Police say it was about 1 p.m. Wednesday when the attacker first struck at this home for sale in St. Petersburg. He scheduled the appointment under a fake name heard in this voicemail obtained by ABC News.
Hi, this is Robert Evans. I'm calling about a property you have listed.
There was a level of planning that went into both of these crimes, and that's what causes us concern that he will strike again. Once inside, police say he tied the realtor's hands and feet before calling her husband demanding a ransom. But after something scared him off, he fled.
She was coming right after that. I've been robbed.
Police say he wasted no time finding a new victim. About an hour later, just a few miles away, he was pulling his gun on this realtor, too afraid to show her face on camera.
He put his face in the floor, grabbed the gun, and pointed to me and said, "Take it, get on the floor."
According to police, the robber was interrupted again, this time by another real estate agent also planning to show the home. Our fear is that he moves from this area because of the publicity. The realtor, again, was not aware of the situation, fell into that trap and meets him in the same circumstances. It turns out that selling homes is dangerous work. In Arkansas last year, a real estate agent was found buried in a shallow grave, killed after she showed a home. The government says that since 1997, more than 20 real estate agents have been murdered on the job.
Yeah, I hope I've proven by these few examples that there are risks in your profession. In fact, somebody who makes a living doing what I'm doing, Robert Siciliano, has said that real estate agents, professionals put themselves at risks in so many points, the industry opens itself to predators. But you can reduce your exposure to those risks if you just follow a few of the safety tips I'm about to talk about. I'm very hopeful at the end of this presentation that you come up to me and you tell me, you haven't told me anything I haven't heard before. I've heard about all these tips and I practice them religiously. That would make me very happy because then I know you're taking all the proper steps to keep yourself safe. But I guarantee you, even though you've been to a class, even though you've heard a presentation like this before, every now and then, some if not all of you have slipped from time to time, putting yourself in a vulnerable position. Let me tell you about, let me start it this way here. Yeah, 3 keys to real estate safety. Identify a client prior to being alone with this individual. Carry a fully charged cell phone at all times. Trust your instincts and act upon those instincts. And we're going to talk a little bit about each one of those. As far as identifying your client, first meet the person in your office. I know somebody in here has not done that. Because quite frankly, when I was looking at homes, I'd be looking at the papers going on the computer, and I'd call a real estate agent up. In fact, when I came here to Connecticut, I did that. I didn't have very much time initially. I said, hey, look, I'm in the area for a very short period of time. I'd like to see this home. I see you're the listing agent. Can I meet you there? No problem. Don't do that. Know the person that you're dealing with. Meet him or her in your office. Obtain a copy of the driver's license from this individual and copy it. Obtain make, model, and license plate of the vehicle that the person is driving. Introduce the client to someone else in your office so that person knows that someone else has seen him and knows his name. Tell someone in the office when you're expected to return and let the individual hear this so they know that somebody knows that you're expected back at a certain period of time. And complete an identification form and an itinerary form. This is something that your broker can make up. You can find these things online and leave it in the office. Let these people know where you're going to be and when you expect to return, and it'll be a lot safer. Carry a fully charged cell phone. Call the office at least once an hour, if possible, to let them know you're okay, you're going here, you're at this other location. Have a distress signal with the office. For example, please send the comps on 123 Main Street that are in the file in Tony's office. There's no Tony in your office. Everyone in the office knows that Tony means get the police there right away or come over here and get some help to me. Now, I understand a number of years ago there used to be a signal, give me the information from the red file. And that meant there's a problem. And some news reporter put that out over the air after an attack, so shouldn't be using that anymore. Not too smart on that news reporters thing, but come up with some type of signal throughout your office to let you know that, I'm in trouble right now, or I'm concerned about something, I need some help over here. And so you're not alerting the person that you're with that you're doing that. Don't hang up the phone after dialing 911 on your cell phone. Even if you can't talk, just leave it open, put it in your pocket so someone in the office or someone on the other line, on the other side of the line, can hear what's going on and can assist in getting help to you as soon as possible. If you have a gut instinct, with unexplained fear or apprehension, do not be alone with the client. Have another realtor show up with you at the showing. Let me read to you something about instincts. I'm going to read to you about Joan Malone, a real estate agent. The lighting here isn't that good, so I'm going to show my age for a minute.
You're welcome to the club.
Okay. She had told her husband that this particular customer had made her uncomfortable, but she agreed to show the man more homes despite this gut feeling. On the day of the attack, she showed the man 5 homes, returning to a home they had previously viewed. He suddenly attacked her, stabbing her twice in the chest and once in the neck. He then left her for dead. Barely conscious, she managed to get to the phone and dial 911. Joan survived and now champions real estate safety. The nature of our business, she says, puts us in a very vulnerable situation. The one thing I could say to people, if you have a bad feeling, don't second guess what it's telling you. Listen to your gut feeling and protect yourself. Don't be so concerned that, man, this is a big house here, a lot of money, I can make a lot of commission on this. That's not your first concern. Your first concern should be for your safety. Show you another video of someone who, hopefully the sound on this is a little higher. An attack on a real estate agent on July 22nd of this year in Georgia. You got it? Good. You can't hear that, can you? Okay. I'll just tell you about it. The heck with watching it. What happened is this lady violated the rule of don't meet the person at the location. She didn't meet the person at the office. She just met the person at the location. And he showed up wearing a dress. A guy wearing a dress. It looked kind of strange, so she had this gut instinct, something's wrong. So she let him go into the house alone, and she stayed outside. When he came out, he attacked her. Luckily, she was outside. There were people around. She was able to call for help, and she survived. But she violated that rule. Don't meet the person at the house instead of your office. But she did trust her instincts. During any open house, ask the sellers to remove all valuables. Remember the individual that I was telling you about? He came approach me, showing this doctor's home with a lot of valuables. Caused this person who was up to no good to want to come back and burglarize the place and probably rob her and or do worse to you while he's doing it. Always keep your cell phone and your keys on your person. Have them available and ready to use. You'll see later on if the video works well. One of the real estate agents always makes a habit of carrying her keys in her hand with one of the keys sticking out just in case she has to use that as a weapon. A very well-known realtor. Have prospective buyers walk through the house while you remain in the position where you can greet others. And I know open houses tend to get busy at times, but if possible, try to, as people arrive, and try to write down their license plate numbers, stuff like that. And also keep your wallets or your purses and valuables in the trunk of your car during this. Don't be having them in the house where somebody could grab them and run off. But during any showing, as I said, keep your valuables in the trunk of your car. Never turn your back on a client. Direct the client to areas that never lead the way. And I know you violated this. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands. Here, come with me. This is this, and this is that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let me tell you about another real estate agent. This is Roberto Ruivo. He had met a man alone in a foreclosed property. When Ruivo took the prospect into the basement of the house, the man put a gun to his head, handcuffed him to a pipe, and robbed him of his wallet and cellular phone. After several hours, Ruivo was rescued by a neighbor. Ruivo made the mistake of turning his back. He went into the basement ahead of the client. And speaking about going into the basement, don't. Usually, some basements, my basement happens to have an exit door on the bottom, but most basements don't have an exit door. There's only one way out, up. You're trapping yourself. Don't go into the attic. Not only do they usually have one exit, they also are a little hard to hear if you start yelling. Harder to hear than if you're on the main floor. Don't trap yourself. Never go into a confined area, even a restroom. Stand at the door, go into the restroom, let the person lead you. When meeting a client at a showing, arrive early and check escape routes in case you have to get out of there quickly. Inspect the exterior. If you confront somebody, a squatter, don't confront that person, but call the police. Get the police to the location. During any showing, attention should be focused on the client, not on the house. You should have your attention on the client. You shouldn't be looking around, well, this is nice, this is nice. You shouldn't be having your attention on the house because you should have previewed the house prior to that. You should never, ever walk into a house for the first time with a client. You should know that house because you should know how to get in and out of places. Again, you should never be walking through the house for the first time when you're showing it to a client. Some of you have probably done this. You don't have to admit it, but I'm sure you have. Try to make showing appointments during the daylight hours, unlike my niece who was there at 8:30 at night with a client. Not a good idea. A lot of it happens under the darkness, cover of darkness. Have an excuse in case you have to leave. Consider using the buddy system. Bring somebody along with you. I think it's, especially nowadays, it's so important if you could work with a partner as a real estate agent. Again, let me tell you about another individual, a 26-year-old female agent, fell victim to a man who called himself Jack Martin. He said he was a nuclear physicist from Tennessee. He was, in fact, Thomas Chappelle, a local commercial cleaning service operator and a convicted rapist. The salesperson met Chappelle several times at her office but didn't ask for any identification. He told her he wanted a high-end residential property and would pay for it in cash. After developing a casual rapport with the salesperson, Chappelle called her to come to and look at a property. She had a little uncomfortable feeling, so she asked a fellow agent to come with her, another lady. Well, Chappelle met both women at the house, and this is a no-no. During the tour, Chappelle was able to separate them. Why would you bring a buddy if you're going to get separated? But she was able to separate them, and she attacked the younger with a stun gun. Luckily, she made a horrific scream. The other real estate agent came running, causing Chappelle to run to his van. But agents got his license number and called the police. And remember this too, we're going to talk about it later on. When he was caught, police found in the multiple listings section book in the van the young salesperson's photos circled in ink. So he had designs for this young lady. Things your office should know. Your vehicle license plate number, make, model. When you want to, who you want to contact in case of an emergency. Hopefully you guys do this. The phone numbers where you can be reached. Doctors and medical information that might be pertinent if you have any type of medical condition. Now when driving to a showing, and I know some of you have violated this, I'm positive. Try to have your client go in a different car. Don't ever have the client drive. If you have to go with the client, you drive. But try whenever possible, have the client go in his or her car and you go in your own. Try not to block your car in a tight space in case you have to leave in a hurry. And this is the one I think you violate. If possible, park at the curb rather than in the driveway. I'm certain at open houses, because I've seen it so often, you know, the owners aren't going to be there. They don't have to get in and out of the garage. So where's my car safest? Let me just pull up in the driveway right in front of their garage. Well, if somebody with a bad design wants to do something to you, lock you in. He's taking away your best means of escape. So please avoid parking in a driveway whenever you're showing a house. Park at the curb, leave enough room for you to get out of there. Make sure your vehicle is maintained in good condition and that you have gas in the thing. This is what you should have in your car. My wife is a big proponent of this. In fact, one day I asked her, "Hey, where are my running shoes?" She says, "Oh, it's in there in the car with our emergency equipment." Knowing not to argue with my wife, I said, "Yes, dear," and I went out and bought a second pair of running shoes because I have to maintain in the car. But have a hand-free phone, have a first aid kit, warm clothes, including second pair of shoes. Have a blanket, flares, and some tools, just in case you have to use them, in case you have to fix yourself up, in case you got injured or whatever. Have those things available. Some do's and don'ts. Don't give out any personal information in your private life. Now, my newly formed niece didn't give out any information on her private life, but somehow today with the computers, it's kind of easy to get that type of stuff. But don't offer it. Don't wear expensive jewelry. Remember what Aaron Lewis said as to why he picked the real estate agent he picked. Because she was a rich broker who was working alone. Now, some of you might just be squeaking by right now in the real estate agencies, the real estate industry, but you don't want your clients to know that. So what do? You go in hot and buy a nice expensive car. You drive to the nines, you wear nice jewelry, and you think you're rich. So they know that you're probably carrying a lot of cash on you or something, or you got that jewelry, let me take it from you. So don't wear expensive jewelry. Go to the Walmarts or something and get some five and dime jewelry, I don't know. Don't use glamour or provocative photos during business, on your business card. And seriously, think about not putting your photo on business cards. I know you want everybody to know your face, so this is a good real estate agent, but just think about it. But especially don't put provocative photos or glamour photos on there. Remember that with that guy did when I talked about the buddy system. He had this pretty young lady's picture circled in that multiple listing section. He was one that she wanted. That she was one that he wanted. Do be professional, be friendly, but not flirty, and do dress professionally, not provocatively. Do wear shoes you can run in. Please don't wear those shoes, especially ladies, with the 3-inch soles and the 10-inch heels that make you look like you're 6'2" and you're 5'2". Don't wear those things. Please, wear things that you feel comfortable in. If you had to walk fast or run, you could run. And don't think, oh, I could just throw those off and run in my bare feet. Yeah, right. You ever run in gravel on your bare feet? It's not going to do much good. So please don't wear those type of shoes. Self-defense. Moving right along. Some self-defense options. You might have to have no resistance. If somebody has a gun to your head and you're too close to too far to do anything, you might have to just go along with the program for a while until you can distract the individual. Stall for time so you can look for a time when you might be able to escape. Distract the person and then try to escape, but that depends on the clothes you're wearing, the shoes you're wearing, if you could run fast enough to get away from the individual. If you're wearing those spiked heels, you're not going to be able to do that. Verbal assertiveness. Be assertive. Let me just read you one more thing about assertiveness. When interviewed, many rapists said they'd leave a woman alone if she yelled or showed that she was not afraid to fight back. So be assertive. Don't just, oh my goodness, yell and scream and tell the guy to step back and take a stance like you're going to fight, like you might know something you don't know. But and if you can, some physical resistance, but know that your goal is not to subdue this person. Your goal is to distract this person, get away from this person, and get out of here. Products such as pepper spray can be good as long as you know how to use them and it's not used on you. Basic self-defense tactics like a knee to the groin, or I know it sounds terrible, but if somebody's trying to kill you, a pen to the neck or whatever, that's why carry a keys or something with you. Or a stomp on the foot, especially if you are wearing those stiletto heels, might hurt somebody. Take a self-defense course. Think about it. Think about taking a course for some basic self-defense. Remember, though, your best self-defense is your brain. Avoid situations that can put you in jeopardy. Have a plan of action, what you're going to do in case something goes wrong. I have another video here. Hopefully this will work. This one here goes. See if you can make it start. You're better at this than I am. This is about a 7-minute video, and it's about a lady who.
I believe that even in this cold snap, people are already getting ready for it, putting their houses on the market. I mentioned March is the most popular month to do it. But along with it come those open houses. But here's the question tonight. Are you opening your phone to someone looking for something else? Here's Rebecca Jarvis.
Real estate agents are starting to salivate. Home sales are up, interest rates are low.
You can't hear that back,
and
can you?
improve it.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd all be out there staging homes and prepping listings, right? So why is this room full of agents in New Jersey learning how to stab someone in the eye?
My film is In Your Eyes Zone.
They're taking a self-defense course specifically tailored for real estate agents because their job can be downright dangerous.
Being in the real estate business is one of the most high-risk businesses in the nation, and yet people don't know about it.
Real estate mogul and Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran says you never know who exactly will be coming to check out that listing, and they may be walking away with more than the property fact sheet. There's been a recent rash of open house rip-offs, like this woman caught pilfering prescription pills from an open house and charged with felony drug possession. So what's a homeowner to do?
Medication's so valuable.
The wrong person is going to take it.
Of course they're going to take it, so you must lock it up.
Now check out this guy facing multiple burglary charges for sauntering out of open houses with high-end jewelry. His lawyer told ABC News his client is innocent until proven guilty.
There's nothing wrong with being in a jewelry box, but make sure you have junk jewelry inside, not the real deal.
Why junk jewelry?
Because if you empty out the whole jewelry box, someone sees it, oh, there's the jewelry, oh, it's not here, and they'll start looking to find out where the jewelry is.
But the danger isn't limited to homeowners.
Police say the realtor who was kidnapped was traumatized.
The agent you hired to help you buy or sell your house could easily end up on the 5 o'clock news.
A local real estate agent says he did not think he would live to see his family again.
And it's not just dangerous, it can be deadly. In the last decade, more than 20 real estate agents were murdered, according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Take the case of Beverly Carter, an experienced real estate agent who disappeared from a Little Rock area house she was showing last October while allegedly meeting a potential cash buyer. After a days-long search, her body was found in a shallow grave. The man accused of her murder giving a perp-walk statement and later pleading not guilty to capital murder. By Beverly.
Are real estate agents sitting ducks? They are. Nothing is more essential to the real estate business than a new customer. And a new customer could be a new customer, or it could be the wrong customer.
And it's mostly female agents who are meeting Mr. Wrong customer. Women make up 60% of the real estate agent population, and it is a requirement of the job to market yourself relentlessly to perfect strangers.
They know more about you than you would ever know about them when they show up at your home. Their cell number is on the business card, it's online, they blog about particular open houses, they talk about their children, and being open like that, of course, makes them more vulnerable.
San Antonio real estate agent Janice Tisdale had always been cautious, but a few years ago she found herself in a perilous situation with a client and barely escaped with her life. It was a Maldonado and his baker in a remote subdivision.
As soon as I pulled up, I said, "Where's your baker?" And he goes, "Oh, he couldn't come today." And I thought, "Oh, this is weird."
Tisdale did a lot of things right that day. She took off her diamond jewelry and made sure she had an escape route, just like Barbara Corcoran recommends.
I make sure foremost that I have an exit strategy. I open the gates on the back of the house. I open the back door.
So if you were showing me this home,
I would say, have a look at the bedroom.
and you would make sure you're there,
I keep my eye on you, but I want to stay by the door.
Corcoran says agents should realize they're already armed for combat.
So you should have a cell phone in one hand, and in your other hand you should carry a car keys. This doesn't look like it's a bad weapon, but cut someone in the face with it, you buy a few seconds to make your runaway.
As Tisdale and her client toured the vacant house, Tisdale's instincts were telling her to bolt.
And finally I said, "We really need to go." And I reached down to pick up it was a lockbox. That's when he struck me over the head.
Maldonado was wielding a tire thumper used by long-haul truckers to check tire pressure, and now blood was gushing from the back of Tisdale's head. Maldonado held the 64-year-old grandmother hostage for 45 minutes until she was finally able to use her remaining strength to break away.
I was screaming. I just thought, "You're dead, Janice. You are dead."
In the distance, Tisdale spotted some teenagers driving a banged-up Honda Civic.
And here come those kids, and their window was down. So I just screamed, "Help me, help me. He's trying to kill me." And they slammed on their brakes, and 5 teenagers got up and out of his car.
Maldonado was arrested soon after. Now he's serving 60 years for aggravated robbery. And as for the teens who came to Janice Tisdale's rescue,
I have 5 more children now, so instead of walking up, I went to another wall.
well, actually, this mother wants one more protective friend. These days when she shows properties, she brings along a The shark and the survivor spoke via Skype.
I hear you teach all the new realtors what to be careful about. I bet one of the big lessons you're teaching is trust your gut.
That is the thing I end with, is trust your gut, because if you don't, you could end up dead, or you could have.
Trust your gut. And by the way, I saw that gun over there. In my research, I found that about 15% of men and 5% of women carry weapons who are real estate agents. If you're going to do something like that, please get it registered, take a course, know how to use it, and be cautious that it doesn't get used on you, taken away from you, used on you. There are dangers to that too. The other thing I want to just tell you is during interviews of victims of real estate agents' violence, each victim stated that the incident could have been avoided if they had approached the situation differently. If they had thought of safety before the sale. That's all you have to do. Now, I borrowed a trifold from the Mesa Police Department that gives out some of these tips, and I believe they've been copied, and there are copies here for you as you leave. I didn't want to give it to you before because I didn't want you reading while I was giving my presentation. But I thank you for your attention. I hope this has been helpful to you, and stay safe. Make the sale and stay safe.